live? We're live, okay. Welcome, everyone. How fantastic to see such a large group of you in person. So we're delighted that you could join us today. We've also got quite an online audience, so we want to welcome our online friends as well. This, I think, is going to be a great topic for us all. Aging, thermoregulation, and everyday clothing. So we're excited to do this today with you all. So our FIBRE platform, Kite Creates, and CABI, which is the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation, is presenting this session today. So thanks to them for funding us. My name is Helen, and I'm part of the Kite Creates and the FIBRE team. If this is your first event with us, great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding us. And if you haven't already, I hope you have, help yourself to tea, coffee, and snacks. For those who are new, a little bit about FIBRE here at Kite. So FIBRE is an academic research platform in the field of textile-based wearable technologies and adaptive fashion. Based here at Kite, the Research Institute. Its mission is to make care accessible to people through technology by designing and integrating smart textiles across the healthcare system. So I'm delighted to introduce our speakers today who will be taking us through our topic, which affects so many of us. So Dr. Azadeh Yahadallaha is our FIBRE director, senior scientist at UHN's Kite Research Institute, and associate professor at the University of Toronto. Azadeh leads the FIBRE group, overseeing both in-house and international researchers developing textile wearables for prevention and diagnostics and treatment. A champion of inclusion and accessibility, she represents Kite as a member of the World Health Organization's Disability Health Equity Network, WHO. She is also the Canada Research Chair in Cardiorespiratory Engineering and runs the Sleep DB Lab. Well, that was quite a mouthful to get through. The Sleep DB Lab utilizes advanced clinical tools to simulate real-world environments and diagnose and treat sleep apnea. She's the author of more than 80 publications and has 3 patents for new healthcare products. We also have Dr. Saiful Hoke, who is a textile engineer and materials researcher, whose work bridges fiber and polymer science, textile manufacturing, sustainability, and smart technologies. His research focuses on material performance, degradation, and the development of textile-based sensors and actuators for healthcare and rehabilitation. Currently, Saiful is a postdoctoral fellow here at the University of Toronto, Institute's Biomedical Engineering, and Kite. In addition to his research, Saiful serves as the president of the Institute of Textile Science, Canada, where he supports knowledge exchange and innovation within the textile community. So you've got quite a lineup today. So welcome, Azadeh and Saiful.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm quite excited for this audience and then to present today, and quite nervous. I don't know how many talks I've given in my life, but I've never been this nervous, no matter how many times. So, say what? I know, and then you're all so fantastic, and then so excited that I'm like, okay, I really have to deliver a good job. So I'll try my best. So this topic and then this audience and then being able to talk with you is quite exciting and amazing for me because it really helps, matters a lot to me, like sleep, but especially what we can do to make sure that as we age, we have better sleep. And then, so feel free to stop me at any time if you like, or if there are any questions from the audience online that are really burning questions, feel free to stop me. It's going to be really casual. I didn't put too many slides. I wanted to have more discussion. So why should we sleep or why sleep is important. And I know that, and we're going to go and hopefully change that as we age, it's not normal to sleep less or need less sleep. That's the message that I hope that we will get by the end of today, that this is wrong. We should change that. We all need even more sleep. So why should we care? I know, isn't that? That's why I was scared. So why should we care about the sleep? And why sleep is not just fancy things or a luxury things, is actually a very important pillar of health, and it gets more and more important as we age. There's so many functions that only happens during sleep. For example, hopefully I don't make a mistake, sleep is crucial to improve our memory in everyone, like in any age. It's important for health, physical health, heart health, and we go a bit more in depth. We go more in terms that with poor sleep, it impacts immune system. Like for example, if you think about the vaccines or COVID vaccines or any of those, having a poor night of sleep is actually impacts how good the vaccines are working or how sensitive the body will be with immune, like the viruses, and how to good to fight the viruses. Obviously, a good night of sleep improves mood. I was in travel last year for a conference about the sleep. My daughter developed some sort of allergy and she didn't sleep for 3 nights in a row. And every time it happened at 12 a.m. that she couldn't sleep and she was kicking. And all that I could do in this conference that was about the sleep was asking people, what shall I do to sleep? And the third night that we finally found that she has allergy and we find these creams for like her skin and she slept, it was like a miracle that I could sleep. So we all know how important sleep is for mood, for emotion, for anxiety. It helps with focus, with attention, but also with physical health. If someone has not good sleep, it increases the risk of being tired during the day, increases the risk of fall, just being drowsy and tipping. But very, very, very importantly, it's quite crucial for brain health. And that's what we hope talk a bit more, why sleep is very crucial for brain health, especially as we are aging. I'm sure that many of you know about that, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, when we go to sleep, it's not just like that, it's all the same. Like, I mean, we have different stages of a sleep. So we have one sleep cycle that is usually about 90 minutes. And the whole sleep cycle has these 4 stages. It starts from a stage, I don't know, a stage 1 of light sleep, we call it N1, that is light yellow. And that is basically a very short period transition from wakefulness to sleep. That's very like dozing kind of thing. Then we go to stage 2. We usually spend 45% of that one cycle or sleep in a stage 2 that is more stable sleep or a bit deeper sleep, like lighter sleep but deeper than the stage 1. And then we have another stage that's called N3, and that is the deepest sleep. And then after that, we have a stage that's called dream stage or rapid eye movement, because the eyes are moving a lot, and that's why they say it usually like people are dreaming. And these 4 cycles together make one sleep cycle. And throughout the night, we may go 3 or 4 of these cycles, depends on the length of the sleep. Toward the end of the night, we may have more REM and then more entry sleep. And then at the beginning, we may have all 4 of them. So quite a bit of change of these sleep stages. And what is quite important is that these 3 stages, so forget about the N1 because that is just a transition. But when we talk about N2, N3, and REM or dream, these 3 are quite important with 3 very different functionality. So we need all 3 of them. And this is a very high level of why these 3 sleep stages are important. So when we are in N2 or light sleep, think of your brain. It's like that you're going to sleep and then your brain is now, it's not resting. Actually, to be honest with you, when you sleep is the time that your brain is the most active. It doesn't have all the noises during the day of walking and all the things. So that's the time that the brain is more active to rebuild itself. So the stage 2 of a sleep is where the brain is basically sorting the information that it got during the day. And the main function is try to improve learning and remembering, sort the memories, which one are more important to keep, which one are not, just let them go. Uh, Also try to improve the function for movement, so really the balance. A lot of those are coming from learning in the stage 2. And then also help the people to be more calm. So a lot of those emotional regulation are happening in a stage 2. Then when we go to a stage 3, that is the deep sleep, that's where a lot of the deep repair happens for the body. So it's a lot of the healing and repair of the muscle happens. So in everyone, if we don't get into a deep sleep, we don't have a good muscle performance during the day. So that's why it's very important for like the function and improvement of the function. So that muscle basically healing is what happens in the deepest sleep. It helps to improve the immune system because it really balances the hormones, and that's what happens during the deepest sleep. One thing that is quite important during deep sleep is that the brain generates toxic, like some proteins called amyloid. And those are like toxins for brain. To reduce those from the brain, that happens during deep sleep. And that basically happens with like these sort of a slow movement that are happening during the sleep. And that is sort of like cycling those out. So if you don't get to this deep stage 3 of a sleep, those toxins are stay in the brain, and that's why it increases the risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer and all of these problems that may happen with poor sleep. And then also for overall energy restoration, deep sleep is very important. That's why having a very good quality and deep sleep is very important. And then we get to the most fun part that for so many years, nobody know why we actually go to dream sleep. Who cares about the dream sleep? And it was like one of the sort of myth that, okay, what's happening during REM sleep beside that we feel that actually we're dreaming. And what they found is the dream stage or the REM stage of the sleep is quite instrumental for our health. It's the stage that as if the brain start to learn new things, like really go crazy and wild and learn new things or new practices and then become very creative. So that's the stage that we do a lot of emotional regulation. How? We all know about nightmares and how horrible the nightmares are. And then if like someone asks you about some of really bad memories that you had during your childhood or traumas that you had in the past, after a while, it gets easier to remember them. I mean, you may have, and then especially if you have a lot of nightmares about them. So in fact, one of the theories is when we have nightmare, it's our way of our brain to deal with these traumas and bad memories, to sort of learn how to deal with them and make it easier. And that's why over the time, it helps us to, when you remember a bad memory, it may not be as traumatizing as when it happened. So really what happens, it can happen with the stress and all the emotion. So the dream stage is, and then also all those dreaming actually helps to regulate the emotions that in the, and that's why if the people are having post-trauma stress syndrome and they can, if they can get good sleep, it really helps them. And then the dreaming really helps them to improve their emotions and the symptoms. The same, it happens with memories and experiences. We can learn new things and new pathways during REM because, as I said, it's like that the brain goes wild and then tries new things and new creative ways of learning and then so find new ways of solving a problem. I mean, I'm sure that you all know about the Mendeleev table, all the elements table. And it's all that he found it after a sleep. He said that, oh, just sleep over that idea and then something happens. It actually happens. So there is this that he had all these tables and all these elements there, and he woke up, he didn't even remember, and he put them in the order and then wake up in the morning and he saw that he put that in the order. I mean, maybe not exactly all of them, but there's a lot that we actually find new solutions during a sleep, or people find new songs and then even play them, and then they had recorders beside them, like big playwriters, to record themselves and what they may do during a sleep. And that's exactly because of that. And then all of that together is quite important for long-term memory. And that's why when we talk about the sleep, it's not just that it's a rest, it's a good thing to have. No, it's not. It's actually the stage that we need to make sure that we have a better and longer and more independent life as we go. Any questions so far? Yes. So usually like that. So we spend about 45% of our total sleep in a stage 2, 25% in a stage 3, and 25 stage in REM. I mean, so many things can change that, like the quality of the sleep, the depth of a sleep, and so on. But that's sort of average. Oh, I see. I'm so sorry. So as we go to the deeper sleep, we have more of the delta waves that are relevant to the like more slow wave. And that's why, for example, a stage 3 is called the slow wave, because you have like these slow wave but high amplitude. And then as you're in the lighter sleep, it's like as if you have more noises because you're lighter asleep. So you have a lot of low amplitude, high frequency. As you go deeper asleep, it's like that all these brain signals are become more synchronized. So they're slower in wave, but higher amplitude.
Another question here, and just
Yes.
for our friends online, we're going to use the mic for questions as
Yes,
well.
please.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ju. So I am a sleep lover. So I'm curious about one question. I'm very appreciative that I learned this, but I also take a nap. Like a nap is from 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I'm curious about if my nap also go through all the 4 stages, the 4 parts. Thank you.
That's a great question. And there is a very strong line of research. I mean, the author that I know is not Spanish, but they're really supporting this Spanish style that a nap during the day for 1 hour is actually really, really good to help with the sleep health and then the memory. Maybe not close to the sleep time, but like something during the day is really good. So if you have the luxury of doing nap, it's great for overall health. When we do in the nap, it really depends, because when we fall asleep, we sort of go in all these stages. So we start from a stage 1 and then 2, 3, and then REM. Usually a nap, if it's less than 90 minutes, wouldn't get into a REM. So it would be a transition of the first 3 stages, depends on the duration and then the depth. Okay. So I don't go into nap in this talk. Maybe I should have, but yes, but there is a big body of literature that nap is actually very helpful and beneficial. That doesn't apply to my student. You have to work during the day. So this is sort of a summary with more numbers, and specifically as we age, that we do need a minimum of 7 to 8 hours of sleep in order, and that is the most powerful thing that we have to protect brain, heart, and independence. Brain is because of all the things that I mentioned, heart because of the cardiac function, and independence because it reduces the risk of fall. It reduces the risk of illness that can put us in challenge of basically relying on others to take care of us. And as I mentioned, like for example, brain, like sleep helps to protect memory and brain. Poor sleep, like short duration of sleep, increases the risk of dementia. It increases, even 1 night of sleep, increase this bad protein or amyloids in the, amyloids in the brain. It like poor sleep increases the risk of depression, mood disorders. And then also when it comes to the heart and physical health, poor sleep, it could be a sleep problem, short duration of a sleep, or too long sleep increases the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, appetite disorders, and then balance of the glucose balance in the blood. We discuss about the risk of the immune system, and then also the balance that is really comes from the role of sleep is improving the motor function, improving the muscles, and then being less tired. That reduces the risk of the risk of fall. My apologies. I did have a good sleep last night. I don't know what's wrong with me. Now, these are some common myths about sleep. My apologies for the first mistake, but I just wanted to bring this up. The first one is that older adults need less sleep. I think that perfect. I love you, Opal. Not for so many other reasons, but this one is one of them.
One of the things I noticed now that I'm 74, I'll be 75 in a couple of months. One of the things I've noticed in the last couple of years is that no matter what time I go to sleep, I wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And why is that? Like, I never used to do that. And now all of a sudden it's like, sometimes I even get less sleep. I just wondered if that's a common thing as we age. Thank you.
So definitely as we age, the pattern of sleep is changing for so many reasons. And I try to address a few of them and mention a few of them. But it's not normal. We think it's common, but it's normal. I'm just going to give an example. How many of you in the room are using some supplements for your bone health? Would you accept anyone telling you it's normal that we lose our bone density with aging and then just let it be? No. It's exactly the same for sleep. It happens, but it is not normal, and we should take care of it. We accept that we should follow and then do all the imaging to know what is the bone health and then bone density and get the medication and treatment for that and keep an eye on that to reduce the risk of fall. Yes.
What population is your concept of normal based?
That's a very good question. When I say normal, what I meant more was that it's not something that we accept. I mean, all of these conditions are treatable. So when we talk about the sleep problem, many of them are treatable. And we can, the same way that, we may not be able to, similar to the bone density, it happens with aging. And it happens, but it's not something that just let it go. It is something that can be treated and then try to reduce the speed of progression.
Some years ago, in my 80s, my doctor said something about, oh, yes, it's normal. And then she said, but we don't really know what is normal for your age. We don't have enough evidence. Now, I'm now in my mid-90s, so this is a while ago, and I know some research has gained momentum, but I wonder just how much.
So that's a great question. And then that's actually a challenge. First of all, you look amazing in mid-90s. I wish I would look like you in my mid-90s. And that's why I always tell my parents that, really look forward. So that's amazing. And then you're right, we don't have a lot of information. And that's why I wanted to have this myth, because it was accepted that we don't need that much sleep as we age, so no one looked into that. Now we have evidence that, you need, like the younger population, as we age, we also still need those 6 to 8 hours of good sleep. and maybe even more if there are some other conditions like that the people have. But you're right, there is not enough information. The good point is there's more and more attention coming, and like program like this to raise awareness and then provide more information about the sleep, and getting more data is quite important, but we have a long way to go. But at least we know that it's not acceptable to sleep less as we age.
Smart watches that I'm seeing everybody wearing. I have one too. What is your thoughts on the results the watches are giving you percentages of sleep in each of these areas? Are we, as you get older, depending more on what the watch says that, oh my gosh, I'm not getting any better percentages in each 4 areas? And some are getting to the point where I think it's overwhelming for them to say, oh my gosh, my watch is saying, you had a bad night last night. What can I do about repairing it? So are you now looking at the technologies of using smartwatches more to get the information on sleep, or are you kind of 50-50?
That's a great question. And I mean, actually, there were two very important points in your like sort of comments. One is that yes, it's really good that we have more technologies that help us to have a better understanding of our health. Like a stopwatch is one of them. Now that we know that, okay, it's important to walk, like, and then just that small number of count is important. With the watches, there is growing and growing research of using watches more frequently and more often, because it's very easy to do that, and then to detect a sleep problem and a sleep stages. I do not belong to any of the smart watches companies. So there is a challenge at the moment that a lot of the technologies out there are not accurate, because a lot of the models are developed because it's basically checking how many times you move your arm to find your deepest sleep. So if you lie, and then it's a very simple case. If someone has insomnia, which means that they just lay on bed and do nothing, it assumes that the person has a very good deepest sleep, which is not the case. If someone rolls a lot, they say the person is awake. So the problem is many of these algorithms are developed for ideal case, and then like more in the younger population, that they don't have they don't have insomnia. So if they're quiet in the bed, it means that they are asleep. They're getting better because now they're getting more and more data. So I'm optimistic that they're getting better as they get more data and then validation with the gold standard in lab. But it's not gold standard. It's important to know that even in the publications, there's a lot of information that they are either underestimate or overestimate sleep quality, depending on who they're looking. And that actually gets to your next question, which happens more in the younger population, that they get so nervous about their sleep quality that it actually makes their sleep worse. And I don't remember there is a name for that. I don't remember what it is. I did one interview about that it actually, there's a lot of evidence that looking your watch so much to know what your sleep is and then getting bad data during the day and getting nervous is actually much worse for the sleep quality. Sorry.
Are there any apps that actually measure brainwave activity so they know with more reliable data what the brain is actually doing as opposed to making incorrect assumptions?
I don't think that there is any app that is doing, because if they want to really do that, they have to have some electrodes on the brain to get
Yeah,
that.
so I mean,
those exist, like, and then there are devices that like put on the forehead or behind the ear and then do that. So there are getting better and better digital like wearable technologies that can someone put like if on the forehead or on the ear. I think at the moment there are tens of technologies out there. I think there are only 2 that have FDA approval to be clinically accurate.
yeah. Yeah, like I was thinking like a sleep study light.
Yes. So again, I'm not commenting on any specific technology. First of all, because I haven't tried them and they haven't paid me to do that. So why should I advertise for them? So a myth is older adults need less sleep. Sorry for my mistake. It's completely wrong. It's not. I mean, our sleep changes, but as we age, we don't need less sleep. We need as much as sleep, like 6 to 8 hours at least. We need good quality, deep sleep. If we don't need more, we may even need more just because we need more of the memory, like healing. The next myth is, maybe this applies to you, Opal. Okay, I have to stop. That waking up at night is normal. It's not. I mean, it's harmful to wake up at night because it impacts the quality of sleep. And it's quite important to know what the cause is. Is it nocturia? Is it a stress? Is it pain? So I don't know why it exactly happens at 3 a.m. for you, but it's really important to know that, is it, what do you think is the cause of that, and finding that. But it's not normal, and it's actually harmful. The other myth is that this is part of aging, that, okay, as we age, the sleep is going to be poor. No, it's not. It's important to find what is the root cause and try to solve that. And then also, it's like that poor sleep doesn't link to memory or dementia, which is again wrong. I gave you a few examples of what happens during sleep. And then also the naps during the day, if they're not close to the sleep time, is actually good. This is a great book. If you have this or listen to this, I highly recommend this, because a lot of the things that I said and learned are from this author. It's a very easy book to read or listen. I usually listen to the books. It's called Why We Sleep. And then Matthew Walker is a sleep expert at the Stanford University. There are some common problems that usually cause, and these are the common problems in the aging population. Insomnia is when the people have either trouble falling asleep, or if they wake up, they can't go back to sleep easily and they stay awake. It's more common in women. And in most cases, either stress or looking at the medication or some behavioral therapy to improve the sleep health, like hygiene improves with the insomnia. Sleep apnea is quite common. It happens when the people stop breathing because the airway is narrow, and then it could be because of aging. Many people are snoring, for example, as a symptom, and it's quite bad because it increases, like basically it reduces the amount of oxygen that is getting to the brain because we stop breathing frequently, and that has a lot of challenges for memory, for cardiac function. Another quite common sleep problem as we age is restless leg syndrome. So basically, it's like the leg is moving a lot. It can be either because of the imbalances in the hormones. It could be because of pain. It could be just because of the caffeine or medication. And usually, again, the symptom is to try to figure out what is the symptoms when it happens more. Is it because of like thyroid, like the some impairment in the thyroid function, or the other that can contribute to that. Nocturia is quite common in both men and women. And then one of the reasons that the people wake up, and then if they can't go back to sleep, that makes it harder. Some suggestion is to try to control the water intake very close to the bedtime. And the last one that I wanted to talk a bit more is about the thermoregulation. So one of the very key important factors that control our sleep and sleep quality is our body temperature. And the way that we control the body temperature is really changing with aging. And then as we age, we become more sensitive to heating or cooling and the body temperature. And I'm sure that you all know or heard about the suggestion that as we sleep, it's important the room temperature to be a bit less, a bit colder, because that actually helps with our internal clock to know that, okay, it's the time to go to sleep, because that's what happens during the sleep. So if we have problems of the balance of this body temperature, it actually impacts the quality of the sleep. So one of the things that quite changes over the time. And by improving that, we can improve sleep quality a lot, especially for women, is thermoregulation. And I'm saying for women, first of all, because I'm a woman and I'm quite biased, but because the hormones are quite impactful in changing the thermoregulation and the sleep quality. And we have a lot of changes in our hormones because of throughout the cycle, like throughout the months as we go from premenopause to postmenopause. So there's so many things that changes in female physiology that increases our sensitivity to temperature and its impact on quality of sleep. I mean, hot flash is one of them, but it happens in so many other forms. So really trying to find a way to better manage our body temperature, it's one of the really good and effective ways to improve sleep. And I know that we can do things like changing the room temperature, but first of all, it's not easy. You can't control it during the night. What if there are two people in the room with two sensitivity to the room temperature? How often do you have that fight? I mean, I remember when I was pregnant, my husband was crying that it's so cold, and I was putting my hand on the floor so I get a bit of like sort of cold from the flooring. So and that's what we really try to do, that can we find better technologies or better ways to manage body temperature more efficiently, specifically for every individual's needs during sleep. And that's what Saiful is going. I talk too much, I know. Saiful.
Thank you so much. Do you want to take any questions?
Any other questions for me? Yes.
Thank you. You hear about these mattresses that are cooling and this. Is that just marketing? Is there any validity to that?
They are validity to that. Again, didn't get any money. I wish I could. But there are two problems with them. First of all, they're very expensive. They start from 4,000 up. And the other one is that you can set a temperature, but like if you heat up or cool down during the sleep, it doesn't change automatically. So that's a temperature that you set. So the two big problem is that it's too expensive, and then also it doesn't change usually throughout the sleep. Any other question for me?
Thank you so much. So you come to your beginning slide again. Thank you so much, Azadeh, for such an amazing talk. And we're changing the topic now. We are coming to more about clothing. And I'll be a little bit quick. We have 15 minutes for my session. But after the session, we'll be able to talk if there is anything else. So before I start talking about clothing, how it can help about the thermoregulation, as they mentioned, I want to hear from you. So who are here can just answer the questions, and who is online can just join the menti.com with the code 29745745, or who has a smartphone can scan the code and can answer the question. I'll give a few seconds so that if anyone wants to scan, but who are here and want to answer it verbally. So while you purchase a cloth, what's the main criteria regarding the comfort you want? What you look for? Yes. Do you have can I have a mic there?
For me, I definitely will choose clothes that fit my adapt to the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's so different. I see Canadians, some people wear very nice, but I just cannot tolerate the bitterly winter cold. So
Mm-hmm. For the environment.
for the keep warm.
Keeping you warm. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, please. I can give this mic.
Breathability.
Breathability. Okay.
Oh, hi. I think natural fibers are most important to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I look for pajamas, for example, they've got to be 100% pure cotton, no synthetics.
Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent answer. Can you go to the interactive session? We see if people has responded. So thank you so much who has responded from online and from here. As you can see, it varies a lot because it is very individualized. Everyone's skin is different, and we want different properties on our second skin, I would say, second skin. But if I move to the second question, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Have I missed anything in these 4 points you want to just mention? We got breathability, we got good fit, which can keep you warm. We got natural fibers, 100% natural fibers. Anything else you think is very important to consider? Please.
Layering.
Layering, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And all of these things will be coming to my discussion. Can you move to the slide, please? So the question is why your choice matters. So as a researcher and textile engineer, I started working in this field since 2011, like studying and then working in industry and academia both. Over the years, I worked with materials, how I can make it better, how can I make it more comfortable. One thing I was missing for a long time about the consumer perspective, the end user perspective. And the more research I do, I feel like this is the most important things we should consider from the very beginning. And it's not only me, the researcher also saying the same thing, the researcher who are working in this field. This is the closest environment to our body. This doesn't work only for our aesthetic purpose, it's also work as a protection barrier. And living in a country in Canada, we know how important it is, layering of the clothing, keeping us warm. So, and people term it as a second skin. And if we see about the research, the people who did about consumer behavior research, and they wanted to see during a purchase, what are the important criteria people look for. And 2 criteria came most. One is comfort, and another is garments fitting. And the less importance was given to brand value. And also less important was given to material choice. So that's why material choice means what type of fibers it's using, what is the fabric structure, this type of things. So that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about material choice so that while you go for a shopping, you can have a better clothing that serve the purpose. So talking about the material choice, the first thing comes as we got some from the answer about the fiber. So while you choose fibers, it could be natural fiber, it could be synthetic fiber, it could be mixed of natural and synthetic fiber. So we have 3 different types of fibers. And the properties which is important, one is the absorption of our sweating or the moisture. So it really tells you if the fiber absorb a lot of moisture, that means it absorb your sweating, perspiration quickly. And also the transmission of moisture. So it's not only about having the moisture in the clothing, it also needs to be transmitted to the environment. Otherwise, you will remain wet, and it's not healthy actually. If we see our next point, which is heat absorption. So every time when any fiber absorb water, it releases a little bit of heat. And depending on that heat absorption criteria, you might have different warm or cooling feeling. And also the thermal conductivity. So how easily it conduct the thermal property. So talking about the thermal conductivity, this is one of the graph which talks about the thermal conductivity of different fibers. As you can see from here, flax fiber has a very high thermal conductivity. So that means if you wear something with linen or flax fiber, that will transmit your body heat very quickly to the outside. But if you want to keep yourself warm, you want something which thermal conductivity is very low. As you can see from here, silk is one of the choice from natural fiber, which has a low thermal conductivity. And also the polyester has a low thermal conductivity as well. So talking about natural fiber, for instance, if I compare flax and silk, which one we should pick? Silk, right? Because it's good for our skin. On the other hand, flax is a little bit rough, right? So these are the things I just included one graph here, but these are the things we consider while we develop a product. And also from the shopping perspective, we may want to see someone feel very cold, someone feels very warm. So depending on the end use, you can choose which one you want. So we talked about fiber choice. The first comes natural fiber. One of the example is cotton. The cotton is very good. You have very high moisture regain, but cotton has one of the barrier is about the transmission of the moisture. So if you remain sweating, perspire a lot, the sweating will remain on the garments. That's one of the difficulties of using cotton, but it has all the other benefit as well. On the other hand, wool comes as a very alternative good use of fiber, which can be cool and warm at the same time. As you can see from here, the wool fiber has a very different fiber structure compared to other natural fibers. And for that different fiber structure, it keeps a little bit warmer than other natural fiber. And also, for that different group scale on its surface, it allows to transfer the moisture or the perspiration very quickly compared to the other fiber. But as I was touching a little bit, if wool is a little bit rough to your skin, then silk comes as an alternative option. Silk is a little bit expensive, but in terms of wool, wool could be two different types of category. One is very coarser, which is a little bit rough to your skin. But if you go to merino wool, this is more skin friendly. But if someone wants something which will keep them warm, which can trap the heat, then one of the thing you can choose like polyester synthetic material. But the synthetic material has the problem of moisture absorption. That means it doesn't absorb the sweating. And that's a real problem, right? We want something breathable, as you was mentioning. So over the year, different types of synthetic fiber came to the market, which has less moisture absorption, but it can transfer your sweating or the perspiration quickly compared to the conventional polyester fiber. For instance, if you see the structure here, the conventional polyester fiber is very cylindrical. So it doesn't have any channel, and that's why the perspiration or the moisture don't transport. And with this capillary action, with the different channels, it really transfers your moisture, perspiration quickly compared to even natural fibers. And also, the researcher did different kinds of engineering. For instance, here you have a hollow structure as well, so it give you more warmth. So different structure came throughout the market in different brand name. So while you look for product, you may look for the label as well, what types of fiber they are using. So these are the two fibers. This one is very commonly found in different branding product. So talking about the fiber, so one research study tried to see how different garments affect your sleep quality. So they did a sleep study for consecutive 4 nights with healthy adults aged from 50 to 70 years. And they did a full sleep test, which is like polysomnography. And after the test, they found that with the wool fiber fabric, it was a conventional wool fiber fabric, the sleep onset, also they talked a lot about the sleep, and with the wool fiber, they had the better sleep quality compared to the other two fiber they used, although they were natural as well. So this is just as a proof of what I'm talking so far right now, also has been validated over research.
I didn't understand what you just said about
Sleep
the
onset.
comparison. Yeah, sleep.
Yeah. So
Like, are you saying how long it took people to go to sleep?
yes.
Or how long they, oh,
How
okay.
quickly you can go fall into sleep.
Because of those
Yeah.
fabrics. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So with the wool fabric, you go to sleep a little bit earlier. And this has been done, the research participants were varied with different kinds of sleep habits. Some people were very poor sleeper in any way. So they also are the participant of this research as well. And the total participation was 36 participants at all in total. Yeah. Thank you so much for the questions.
That was sleep onset, but what about if you had wool over the evening? It's hot, and you need cool. So it's not really going to be really good for the duration of the night. Wool. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So the research they did in different temperature at 17 degree, at normal temperature, like room temperature, and at 30 degree centigrade temperature. So the best result they got with 70 degree, 17, 17, which is a little bit colder, and that's why wool had a good effect. Yeah. Yeah, it might be a different one. Yeah, yeah. That's a very good question, but these are the area we might want to work later as well. Okay.
Yeah, can
sorry.
I confirm your knowledge? So that means the cotton is the best performance of material that we should wear when we sleep. Is that right?
That's depending on your perspiration as well. So if you do a lot of sweating, then cotton is not a good choice because cotton will absorb your sweat and it will remain on the clothes. So it will remain wet for whole night. So if you are not sweating a lot, then cotton is a good choice. But
sweating? What is sweating? Oh, sweating.
Sweating, yeah.
Oh.
So because the cotton fiber cannot transfer the moisture from it to the outside.
Okay.
So that's a very good question. So the best approach to use some cloth which is layered structure. Layered structure means it has natural fiber and also engineered fiber. In the market, you will find this type of fabric as well. So what they do, the base layer they keep as a cotton or natural fiber, and the upper layer they keep with this type of synthetic fiber, so that it gets the water from the cotton fiber. But it's very thin. It's not like a jacket. It's like a polo shirt. There's several marketing. Maybe I'll not mention the name now, but I can talk after. Yeah, there are several brands. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's an excellent question.
We have a question here.
Yes.
Hi. Seifu, I'm just wondering, 50 years ago, many years ago, I've actually had experience in, in the textiles. And I know that in Europe, a lot of the fashion fabrics they have, especially from Italy and Switzerland, they have sort of composition of cotton and silk, wool and silk, wool and cotton, all these different combination, and also different weave as well. Some of them are worsted, crepe and all that. In your research, will you be doing? I know that you're working on finding a fabric that's going to be, good for all of us in the future. In your research, will you be doing a testing on a combination? Because I know that some of your research, you actually have combined certain, like cotton with certain other artificial.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And thanks for bringing that up. So the blending of fiber is very important. Like with one fiber itself, it's really hard to get all the properties we want. So as has been mentioned, like blend of different fibers, like even cotton with synthetic, even two natural fiber or natural and protein fiber like animal fiber is very important. So in my research, we previously tested synthetic man-made polyester fiber, regenerated, which is a mix of natural and man-made, and the natural fiber. And it was really hard to say which one is good for everyone. For different properties, for example, for strength, we found that synthetic fiber is best. For moisture absorption, we found that natural, like cotton fiber, is best. For hand feeling, we found that mix of natural and synthetic was good, like soft feeling. And also these things differ with the surface finish you have on the fabric. So I'm going to talk a little bit on that later. Thanks so much for the question. So what makes a fabric comfortable? So we can see two different types of properties. One is physical properties, like the weight of the fabric, the fiber it has been used, the tightness of the fabric, which is a cover factor, this kind of things, and also the surface finish, as I mentioned. So in the market, you will find a lot of fabric with different surface finish name. For instance, I was talking with someone else a few days earlier about fabric with menthol finish. So with the menthol, you get a little bit cool feeling in your body. So what types of, and also if the fabric is soft enough or not, depending on the skin you have. So this type of finish is also matters a lot, like to make a fabric more comfortable. I'll try to wrap up a little bit quickly, but I was very glad that you brought that layering, and it's very important. So how do we choose the layer? I guess you know far better than me from the experience, but I guess we want to have a base layer which is very comfortable, like preferably from natural fiber or which has a very soft finish. The middle layer, we want to work it as an insulation layer, kind of fleece fabric, which has some brushing would be great. And for the outer layer, we want something which is like, for instance, wind breaking or rain resistance and can be easily removable, not that much bulky because the environment and the body temperature changes a lot. So designing dressing for a day. So what are the things we should consider? And we have talked a lot so far. So about choosing the right fiber, breathable fabric, as has been mentioned, to have a very good fitting. And if we are unsure, if we are purchasing something for someone else, and for older adults, if we are unsure, we'll try to go one size up. So usually what has been noticed throughout research, like people prefer more loose fitting clothing with the aging for the breathability and easy movement. And if you have any issue with the cold feeling or warm feeling, choose the product based on that. For the sleepwear, again, soft, breathable sleepwear is preferable. And during the sleep, I was talking with people as well about how they feel over sleep. And a lot of people mentioned that they feel very cold in feet and hand at night. So having a good socks could be helpful. Also, to have something which is easily adjustable, try to avoid something which is hard to close or hard to put on and off type of things. And the moisture wicking fabric, which I was mentioning about the fiber properties. This is my last slide to have some shopping tips. And what I noticed, like not a lot of people look at fiber or material choice, which has been mentioned at the beginning of this presentation as well. So it's good to have a look on the label of the clothing to see what types of fiber you are purchasing. And if you're purchasing something which claim as a more comfortable one. As I mentioned, what type of closer it has, if it is good for you or not, try to have a look on that. One size up would be a better one, and feel it in hand. So I always mention it to people, even while I purchase something from online, sometimes I feel that what is written there is not what I'm getting delivered. So it's always good to have a, also washable, yeah. How easy it is to maintain, yeah. So with this, I would like to acknowledge Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. This talk has been supported by CAVI Science Collaborative Fellowship. I have my mentors, some of the mentors here as well. Thanks so much for being here. I would also like to thank Kite Create for giving me this opportunity to talk, and also FIBRE Platform and Dr. Yadullahi also to give me this opportunity to talk. Thank you so much for here. I really appreciate your presence. So give back to Helen.
Well, thank you, Saiful and Azadeh. That was, I'm sure you'll agree, incredibly informative. And I'm sure you have many more questions for them. They will be around to ask, but we are going to wrap this part of the session up. And for our online folks, we're going to stop the recording now. But if you are staying for our co-creation session, which I think many of you are, we have to switch this room around. So it would be great if you just move into Drux's, just take a seat there, and then we'll welcome you back into this space once we have reset up for that. And I'm sure Azadeh and Saifullah are around if you want to ask them any further questions about the topic today. So washrooms, I think some of you have already found them. We have washrooms just at the back here. We've also got more washrooms on the end corridor as well. And so if you can be back for 3 o'clock, that would be great. Thank you.